Hey house guests, welcome to today's Big Brother 18 updates and spoilers. Our house guest of the day is Devin Veering. Hey Devin. And he wants to know, am I planning on covering Big Brother 19? That is a loaded question. I've been trying to think about this as much as possible, but I've been so busy with this season, I haven't had time to fully digest it yet. The main concern I'm having here is that I am like freaking exhausted every time a season ends, and it's like a big deal to just jump into a new season a few days later, so I don't want to commit to it yet. I'm leaning towards yes, but I'm also a little bit scared for my life. But let me know what you guys think in the comments. And if you want to be house guest today, make sure you check out our Patreon link in the info box below. Alright, so Paul and Victor yesterday were trying to assess their situation, see what they could possibly do to get Victor to stay this week. So Victor's like, you know what, I feel like I've pretty much done everything that I can campaign-wise. I've said that all that I can say. It's gonna come down to James's vote this week, obviously. So he's gonna try and make one more pitch to Natalie and James, but other than that, he's just gonna keep being nice, keep cleaning. There's not really much else he can do. So then they were discussing if they think Natalie actually likes James or if she's just playing games with him. So Paul's like, she's absolutely using him. And he said some not nice words, which I will not repeat. But he was like, you know what, we're going to let James figure that out on his own. We don't have to be the ones to tell him that. I mean, people have told him in the past that Natalie was using him, and he was just like, no. I don't know. I still don't know. She is very hot and cold with him, but I don't know. Okay, so then they're talking about their plan for next week. They still want to go ahead and nominate James and Natalie if they win HOH. James would be the target. And then Paul's saying, I'm so screwed if you leave this week, Victor. I'm going to be all by myself. And he's saying he would have to try and work with Nicole and Corey because he can't trust James and Natalie anymore. What's he going to, he can't do that. He can't work with Michelle. He can't stand Michelle right now, so his only option is to move ahead with Nicole and Corey. Alright, so then they're talking about how they think that Michelle really blew it this week. They think that she should have put up James because they could have had a nice little three-person alliance with Paul, Victor, and Michelle, and that's what I thought was going to happen. But then she went ahead and just did what Natalie wanted, so they really think that she blew a big opportunity there. I kind of feel like, yeah, I agree with that. But anyway, the house guests were talking about dating apps like Tinder and Bumble yesterday, and Nicole was getting so pissed when Corey was talking about it, because apparently on Bumble he's like a VIP or something, or like VIB, so he gets to talk to like all the top tier people on there. I don't know, but she was like really upset about it. And Corey's like, oh, I only use it for business. Like, I never go on any dates from it. And I just use it to bring girls into the bar that I work at and stuff. He left off the part about, like, freaking banging them after work. I mean, really. But anyway, Nicole was really pissed about it. So then the house guests a little while later were talking about various other social media apps. And Michelle brought up Frankie Grande's infamous social media mogul speech from Big Brother 16. But she kept on saying, I am a social media Mongol. Oh my god! Are you kidding me? And she kept saying it over and over and over again. A Mongol. And then Victor was like, you mean mogul, right? But she still kept saying it after that. It was crazy. But anyway, that's not really that important. There was a huge prank war last night. Natalie got some lotion like all over James, and then her and Michelle ran up to the HOH room. They locked themselves in there. And then a couple minutes later, James freaking picked the HOH lock with a little like have-not card, like saying what food they were gonna get this week. What the F? So then he like squirted lotion all over Natalie. So then the girls were like, let's get the guys back. Let's throw some eggs at them. And Big Brother was like, you stop that shit right now. So they couldn't do it. But that prompted Natalie to keep asking James, are you the freaking saboteur this season? Because you never seem to get in trouble for any of your pranks, but for some reason the girls always get yelled at for Big Brother if they even like attempt to pull off some sort of prank, which is interesting, and I hadn't really noticed that before. apparently, like, Natalie tried to put pie in James's bed the other day and she got yelled at, and, like, I don't know. It's weird that James gets away with all this stuff, isn't it? Alright, so then they all hid one of Paul's shoes, and they're playing the hot and cold game with him. I can't believe I have to, like, report this. Until he found it, and it ended up being on top of the fridge. But things got really messy when Corey was in the shower and Nicole and James started throwing like baby powder and flour at him. It was getting like all in his face. Nicole threw freaking coffee grinds at him. What? So Corey tried to retaliate by squirting them with like shampoo and soap or whatever. At one point, Corey was freaking gagging. He was like, I can't breathe, it's all up my nose. Nicole peed her pants yet again. This girl's gotta start wearing diapers. I mean, it's crazy. But they made a huge mess. Thankfully this time they cleaned it up so that Victor wouldn't have to do it all himself. I feel like Victor is the cleaning Hulk, and like you don't want to see him when you make a mess. So James kind of messed up last night with this whole pranking thing because he was talking to Corey and he made this comment like, oh, I'm gonna have to be alert now and deflect all of Corey's pranks for the next 28 days. So does that mean you're keeping Corey? Because he definitely said this in front of Paul, and Paul freaking heard it and processed it because he made a face like, yeah, so a little slip up there. But anyway, Natalie and Michelle were talking game in the HOH room, and they were talking about next week, different scenarios. Jose, scenarios that could happen, and Meech was saying worst case scenario next week would be Paul, Nicole, and Corey, like some combination of those three getting the HOH and the care package. They're really hoping that James is going to win the HOH and take out Paul. And speaking of Paul, there was a lot of speaking of Paul. I mean, they were going on and on, just trashing him and how much he sucks. And they're getting really annoyed that they've been noticing more and more he's been talking to Nicole and Corey, and they can definitely see that he's trying to get in with them. And they were just going on and on about how Paul's got to leave next. And they were saying he doesn't need the money because he's already loaded. And again, I think that's like the lamest argument. This is not a charity, you know? Like, the person who plays the best game should win. But they were also saying he's a liar. He lied about the pity vote for Victor. He knew that Davon was going home that week. And he freaking lied about not knowing how to make French fries. Yes, they actually brought that up again as a point. You know, it's just ridiculous. So then James joins the girls in the HOH room. So James is like, I know exactly what Paul is doing. I see it. And I just see that Paul is trying to set himself up with Nicole and Corey because he must know, obviously, that Victor is leaving this week. Victor is still kind of like, maybe I got a shot to stay. But Paul knows that Victor's going. So then he's like, I see that Paul's plan is probably going to be to tell Nicole and Corey that we were all targeting them, which is true. And James is saying it doesn't matter because they're not going to believe Paul. And he's pretty confident that Nicole and Corey would not side with Paul over them. But you know what? I could totally see Nicole and Corey picking Paul up and, you know, scooping him up and getting him to take out James and Natalie for them. So James is thinking Paul is definitely targeting him now. Yep. Okay, so they are planning on telling Victor ahead of time that he's going home. They don't want to blindside him. And they're going to tell him, like, sorry, bruh, but it's Paul's fault that you're going home. Your boy, he's the reason, and you're so close to him, so we've got to get rid of you because we couldn't get him this week. That's, like, a bitch move. But anyway, this morning, Paul was the only one awake for a very long time, and he had this 5-hour plus friendship chat with the live feedsters. I don't understand how a human being could possibly talk for that long, but he did, so, like, hats off to him. But he wasn't really talking about anything important to the game. I just had to mention it because holy crap. But then this afternoon, Victor started making some moves. This is kind of his last push to stay in the game. So he was talking to Natalie, and he brought up the possibility of someone coming back from the jury. And Natalie's like, well, I don't think it's going to happen because of what Julie said after opening everyone's tickets and how, like, every time she'd be like, oh, you won't be returning to the house, blah, blah, blah. So she says she wouldn't have said that if there was a possibility of someone coming back. You haven't watched, like, much Big Brother, have you? No. All right, so then Victor's asking, am I still good for tomorrow? What's the deal? And Natalie's like, well, I'm not the one voting, and I don't tell James how to vote. We're two separate players. So then Victor's like, well, you were telling me earlier in the week that you could, like, control basically what James was going to do with his vote. And Natalie's like, oh, is that what I said? I don't think I said that because I don't control James's vote. But if he said that you guys are good, then you're good. That's not a good sign. So then Natalie and James were chatting, and this is interesting. Natalie was all like, Jamesy, would you vote to keep Victor if I wanted you to? What? Oh shit. So then James is like, well, it would depend on your argument for keeping Victor. So Natalie's like, well, okay, first of all, Natalie's like, well, I know that Nicole has said a lot of not nice things about me. Ugh. How many times have we seen Natalie make a game decision based on, like, what other people have said about her, like, personally? That's a little ridiculous. But anyway, she was saying, I've been thinking about it, and I've been realizing that it's good for your game to keep Corey, but it would be better for my game to keep Victor. So she's saying, like, she's worried that Nicole and Corey would possibly put her up if they won HOH. She hasn't been playing this whole game with them the way that James has, so there's not really that connection there. So James was, like, very quiet during this whole conversation. He did not want to hear any of this, but she kept asking him what he thought. He wasn't really answering, so she was getting pretty pissed. And James was like, well, I think you've got a soft spot for Victor. So then she's like, what? So she kind of retaliates there, and she's like, well, I don't like how you're always defending Nicole, and I know that you've, like, cuddled with her, so it's weird. Really? But she's asking James point blank, do you have a final two with Nicole? James says, no, the only thing I've got going with her is that final four agreement that the two showmances made. So then, you know, after a little bit more discussion, James is like, I really think it's the right move to take out Victor this week. Like, his heart, his gut, and his mind all agree. So then she's like, well, what if there's a jury buyback? And he's like, no, there's no way that somebody's coming back from jury. He's been saying that the past few days. He is so certain that no one is coming back. It's gonna be fun tomorrow. So tomorrow night is the eviction. It's looking like Victor's gonna go unless Natalie keeps pushing. I don't know if she's gonna keep, you know, forcing the issue or what, or if she's satisfied with James's points that he made. But there will be a juror returning tomorrow. Still don't know if it's going to be like a crapshoot competition or if it's going to be tied into the HOH competition, but it should be interesting. Let me know who you guys are hoping will be coming back in the comments. And until tomorrow, much love.